Good morning again. Now we're going to talk about your money angry. Why is your money angry? Your tax dollars are angry. Picture your dollar, your hard-earned dollar, leaving your wallet. If it had a voice, what would it say? What would it complain about? I think it would complain about things such as getting trapped in the bureaucratic black hole. How much money is, man, we're getting all kinds of crazy here today. How much money and time is spent on hundreds of people getting together to talk about how much money is being spent? It's a crazy amount of money. We spend so much money on time in our government. Just think about that for a minute. How much time is spent governing us? You move up the line to the bigger, higher, more powered governments like state, for example, federal. Holy crap, is there a lot of our dollars go to that. I mean, I don't know why I keep doing this tax kit. It's just amazing because I'm not getting anywhere with it. I'm just bashing my head against the wall. But we spend it all. I mean, we give it all to the government, and they're crying. Our dollars are crying. They want to stay with us. I feel like we go to work, we earn a wage, and then we give over half of it away between income tax, sales tax, property tax, death tax, life tax, birthday tax, dad tax on Halloween. Dads take a tax from the kids. You understand how that goes. But they're exhausted. The dollars want to break. They want to come back home. One thing that the dollars don't like is how many of them are needed to do a project that's a government project versus say a private industry or a personal project. If you have a blacktop driveway at your house and you've got some potholes that's getting old, you need to have those potholes filled. And I'm totally making up numbers here, folks, but we're going to say it's $100 per hole to just patch it with some hot patch, some tar. Now, if you're a city or a county and you've got holes that need to be filled, it's probably $300. I mean, you've got to get engineering involved. You've got to have the insurance involved, and everybody has to be involved. Somebody's got to be there to watch the project. Somebody has to be there to hold the shovel. Somebody has to be there to haul the tar. Somebody's got to be there to tamp it down. Somebody has to be there to hold the frickin' sign to say, don't drive through my pothole because I'm fixing it. So $300 versus $100. And like I said, these are totally made up numbers, pulled them right out of the hiney. But that's a huge problem. And potholes are a very small thing to talk about. Let's talk about a park project we recently completed in our city. The amount of money it takes to do that, to build a building, a parking lot, do some underground work with water, sewer, electrical, some irrigation. I don't know. I don't have the numbers to speak factually, but it's got to be double the price, at least double. And then when you get grant funding, like that project did, it costs even more money because then there's all the strings attached from whoever's giving the grant. And rightfully so. I mean, if I was given money, I would want it to be spent accordingly. I don't want to just give my money out and say, have fun, go do drugs or whatever you want to do. So I understand having stipulations. The problem is we rely on that stuff too much. So if we would complete these projects with no grant funding, no extra oversight, how much money would we save? Because ultimately those dollars, grant dollars, they come from someone's pocket. I mean, they're not just imaginary dollars. They're real. They're tied to something. And I think every time we do something like that, it makes it just that much less valuable. We're talking about the dollar now. Makes the dollar less valuable the more we overinflate things. Let's put it that way. I also think the dollars would be upset about where they're going, being diverted away from critical things, like education, for example. We have public education, which is we could do a whole nother video on public education and my feelings on it. I don't think public education is that great to start with. I do believe that we do need to educate our people, though. We can't just let people run wild. Otherwise, our country would tank. We wouldn't have the greatest country in the world. Public education is important, but when we take dollars away from that to give to other programs, the hand-holding programs, I like to call them, just because that's what they are. I mean, when people don't, I'm not talking about those that have a real need. We should take care of those who have a real need. I'm talking the ones who don't have a real need. They just don't want to do for themselves. They don't want to exhaust their options. They just want to take, if it's, I mean, what the hell, folks? If I'm offering you money, if I just walk up to you with $100 bill in my hand and say, here you are, why wouldn't you want to take that? Why would you not want to just take the money and not worry about what you have to do in return? If there's nothing to worry about, just take it. Enjoy the money. But when we keep putting more money into stuff like that, programs like that, where they're just handouts, not hand-ups, we have to take them from somewhere. And education seems to lose a lot of that money, which is kind of a revolving door, because I feel like a lot of our educators don't teach or preach the right things. They do a lot of, like what I'm doing, the personal, this is my personal views and opinions. This is not anything official. Hell, it might not even be accurate. It was a long time ago I was in high school. We're talking, geez, Moby Dick was a guppy. Right, when did I graduate? 22 years ago now. Whew, a long time. But anyways, I recall quite a few teachers that I didn't like their, well, preachers. We'll call them preachers. That's almost what they were. They weren't teachers, they were preachers. They preached their personal opinion. A lot of it was political. And I think that's dangerous. And that's probably why, or a good reason why, the money isn't there or being used like it should. Our local school district, we just passed a huge referendum to upgrade all the facilities, sports, learning, parking lots even. There's a lot of money spent on it. But I also know that our particular school district is one of the least funded in the state, by the state. And I can guess why, but I can't begin to try and understand it because I don't have the mental capacity to put all that in there. However, I think it has a lot to do with our demographic. We have a lot of lake homes, seasonal lake homes. They're not year-round residents. People come to our area to enjoy the environment, the recreation activities, the lakes, quite simply put. So there's a lot of value in our school district, a lot of taxable value. That's probably why we're bottom of the barrel on the funding list. But anyways, we got really deep into that. That's one thing your dollars would complain about, since we're talking about what they'd be upset about. Another thing that you should watch for this in every aspect of your life, whether it be your business, your home, but especially in your government, because it is your money. You need to keep an eye on where it's going and have a voice in it. Make sure they're not having the mentality of, I've got to spend this money, otherwise I won't get it next year. I don't like that one. Let's just pretend you budget $1 million to operate your city or your business for that year. You split that all up into all these line items, and let's take pothole filling, for example. Let's say we put $50,000 in a line item just for filling potholes, and we ended up having a good year. We only ended up having to do $20,000 worth. A very common attitude about that is we have to spend that other 30 grand. Otherwise, we're only going to get 20 next year. I don't like that mentality. I like honest to goodness budgeting. When we look back at what we've spent historically, do like a 3-year plan. Average out the last 3 years, even 5 years. Pick a realistic number. Also, do a little forecasting. See what your needs are going to be. But don't listen to we have to use it or we're going to lose it. That's a poor mentality to have when it comes to that money. And our tax dollars do not like that. They don't want to just keep jumping into that pool. They want to stay where it's nice. And the last thing I'd say is, which is a common theme that I've had in all these fantastic, super popular videos, is They would ask for you to get involved. They would say, hey, Pops, that was your dollar. I left home. I flew the coop. I cleaved to, well, we're getting a little deep on that, but anyhow, it would say I left home. I've gone on to bigger and better things, but don't lose sight of me. It's like sending your kid off to college. You can't just forget you have a kid. You gotta still pay attention to what they're up to. They still need a little guidance, and your dollar needs guidance too. So don't just let it go do its thing. Be involved. That's probably the biggest key I would say is make sure you stay involved. And that's the way the cookie crumbles.